We've got 14th District State Representative Gina Mosbrucker in the house, so running for re-election. And good morning, Gina.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Well, you've been at the job for a number of years now, but maybe people don't know who you are. So who is Gina? Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your family and where you're from, all that good stuff.
Well, great. Thank you so much again for having me. So it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
I have had the privilege of being your 14th District Representative for the last 4 years, hoping for a next term. I was born and raised in Washington State and born on McCord Air Force Base. So I'm an Air Force daughter.
All right.
And she said daughter, Lance, not brat. You notice.
That's right. I did.
But people describe you, they call you brats.
But when you're specific, I'm just daughter.
There you go. All right.
But fifth generation Clickitat County resident. So that's my home, the beautiful Columbia River Gorge. And 14th District is the best. Two beautiful daughters and 3 granddaughters and 1 new grandson.
Woo. Wow, congratulations.
Wow. The family continues, which is amazing. And just happy to be home. Just happy to be home whenever I get a chance and spend time with my parents. They're a very important part of my life and privileged to spend lots of time with them.
As seeking a third term, you're past the freshman, sophomore stage. You're now into the true believer warrior category. What percentage of time outside of this session do you feel that consumes your time? Is it you have 50% of your time to yourself, or 50% working on issues, or is it 60-40, or how would you gauge your non-Olympia time for this?
I would say 80 to 90%.
Really? Okay.
I would also almost be able to argue this is a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's just you constantly have legislation, people asking you around legislation. We're constantly vetting it, trying to figure out, talking to people year-round. Not just campaign seasons, but just other times. Lots of listening tours, lots of updates on what happened. Appearances with talk shows, right? Different issues like that, and Chamber of Commerce's and Rotaries, and just the big, vast outreach to the public to make sure when I do go back, I'm armed with what they really want. So,
well, let me ask you this. Given the fact that it's a 2-year term, having done it a couple of times now, if there was a move afoot to make the House term a 4-year term, would that make sense to you?
Well, we have the 4-year term. We have 4 years in the Senate.
Right. But
so colleagues, they have that luxury.
And is it a luxury?
Yeah. I think it is.
It has to be.
Yeah, I think people argue for term limits, but really all you have to do is unelect us every 2 years. So in a sense, it's its own natural term limit. So I think that 4 years would be easier. I think you'd have more time to really focus on the issues and do the people's work without worrying about a campaign and coming back.
Right. Part of the time you got to be worrying about people like, who are going to be controlling things behind the scene. Yeah. So, just saying.
So, I mean, after about a year in, you're thinking about re-election.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's the best thing for the people.
My concern is it pulls your eye off the prize a little bit. It has to, everybody.
Sure.
Maybe not you're running at 90% effectiveness instead of 100, but that it isn't there, so we won't mess with that. One of the things that we did with all other candidates, Lance, and we asked them to kind of assess the past session and attach a grade and give us a little critique of the past session. So what's your take? You were there.
I was there. I think the part about getting done on time was great. So that helps the overall. That was a nice change from the 7 months we were there previously.
All right.
So I think that part was good. I mean, there's wins and losses, honestly. I saw a lot of bipartisan work. There were bills that I absolutely was horrified that they passed, that we didn't have the votes to stop. And we had the ability to go into bills that were bad and make them better. So I think overall, you're looking at a C+, just because I think we can always do better. But I do think there was a lot of bipartisan work, even when they didn't need our votes. So that was promising and made me feel better about the process. And, of course, getting out on time is a big luxury for us.
Good. Total plus. It's interesting because some other folks who I guess I would consider maybe a little more hardliner than you are, gave a worse sort of grade. But it's interesting, and people need, I think, to notice their issues, the kinds of issues that you sort of specialize in. You're some people are more into the issues of politics. You're, I think, into the issue of people, if I can say that.
Absolutely, policy.
And I think that you'd have a different takeaway as a result of really trying to work for
It's
things that'll
absolutely true.
make things work for people. So people need to.
We can always do better.
Yeah, but they need to know that distinction about you, that you can get some things done, and
Absolutely.
you've had. I don't know if I don't have good enough history to know if it's unprecedented, but you certainly have had serious success as a junior legislator.
Yeah, we have. It's due to staff, honestly. We have incredible staff and support staff up there, and also my legislative assistant's done a great job. We passed 9 bills in 2 terms and a resolution, so they count those as 10.
I think we got people that we could point to
incredible.
that worked a lot longer and had a lot less to show for it.
No
to be
doubt.
honest
Very
with you.
blessed.
So,
What do you think
Welcoming.
your accomplishments, your top accomplishments for 2018 were?
Well, the Travis Alert bill, that was, watching that actually work out, and we'll start to see changes on that very soon. The Native American Missing Women bill, watching that bill go national and even international. We did some radio interviews recently regarding, how Canada and other countries are looking at what we're doing, because unfortunately this trafficking issue and Native American missing women may have a nexus. And so there's a lot of great work being done there. The relationship between reaching across the reservation line and trying to find Amber Alerts and ways to look for everyone in the state, in the nation, not just on or just off reservation. The Aaron's Law, that was 33rd state. Took me 3 years to pass that. That's a big battle, but that'll help our children have a place to go if they're in an abuse situation. So there's lots of, I love all my bills. I think my biggest passion is to make sure that every bill I run, I'm extremely passionate about. I don't want to just run a technical fix bill. There's people that do that, and it's great, but I put my whole heart in my legislation. It means a lot to me.
You really do. Your alert bill, talk to us a little bit about that. How does that work?
Yeah, it's literally, which is the greatest part, is it's from someone at home. It's in my district.
Right.
Someone just calls and says, I need help. And to watch that go into a movement and work 3 years later again, it started with an autistic child who the mother wanted to be able to get help in the event of emergency because he's nonverbal, he's a runner, and it turned into an all special needs bill. That's why it took the 2 extra years. So if you have a special need and you want to put that special need alert into the 911 system, then whenever there's a call, first responder call to your cell phone, to your license plate, or to your home address, then that alert's going to pop up and say, hey, maybe this person's diabetic, or maybe this person can't hear, maybe this person is blind, maybe this person lives in the bottom floor of a home and there's a fire, and if you call out or you try to reach that person, they may not respond. So we need to make sure that somebody, when they get to the scene, knows how to save everyone that's involved.
really arms first responders with the information they need to have the most positive outcome.
Absolutely, and it's not a mandate.
Emergency.
You don't have to do that, but we're making that available, and it's amazing, the people and the special needs that have come out that said, I just want to keep my loved one safe.
Sure.
Or myself.
Well, good work,
Thank you so much.
Representative, Madam Representative. As you look ahead, providing this all works out to your effect, what kinds of things are on the horizon for you over the next 2 to who knows however many sessions?
Thank you for that. I've been appointed to 2 task force recently by the governor. One is tribal health care, which is a big learning curve for me, but I'm anxious to learn as much as possible. And the other one is a workforce poverty task force that looks at how do we handle TANF? How do we make sure that people that need things or have access to those? And how do we make sure that people that are struggling, we get them jobs and we get them the resources they need and we give them the skill sets to be on their own. So I'm anxious to do that. Again, that'll be a big learning curve, but it's an honor to be chosen for those. I have great bills on the forefront that we're working on currently. We're doing some traumatic brain injury. I've got a counseling bill that I'm working on, domestic violence, very passionate about doing a lot of work in that space. So those are on, of course, the seatbelt bill, the getting seatbelts on school buses. That bill's been moving forward, and we've seen sadly, some horrific accidents that have really pushed that movement. And we've had a lot of national media attention watching what we're doing in our state and trying to keep kids safe. There's just so many great bills. There's some veterans bills that I'm working on. It's exciting. Every year I find something I'm very passionate about from home and then take it back and put my heart in it.
I have to say, Gina, that I'm just thinking of, well, I guess I put myself in that position, figuring I'm the universal piece. I'm the O donor or whatever it is, right? But to think that you've had a lot of different experiences in your career and in your life, and now you're in a position where it's like I kind of like it going back to college almost. I mean, this new education that you get as you research stuff and you work with other excited, passionate people on the staff that are about that. I could just that would recharge you every year. I would think that it'd be tough to. I mean, I think of tired, people sloughing off to Olympia. I would think it'd be like a supercharged first day of school kind of thing almost every 2 years.
It absolutely is. You have an opportunity to reach back in the district and figure out how you can help people the most, and it's amazing when it comes to fruition. And you see the legislation come out, and you see we've created a crime. I mean, I didn't know you could do that. From a small town in Goldendale, you can go to Olympia, create a crime, and it's just.
Or come to a Yakima and watch Lance and I commit it. I mean, one of the two. You can have that.
Yeah, you don't want to commit these crimes. Yeah, but it's an honor to serve, and I'm just very thankful.
I just think it's got to be the coolest thing ever to be able to impact your community and your state like that. One of the things that needs a little impact, and Lance, we talked about this while you were on vacation, and that's probably why we did. It's mental health. Just kidding, buddy. But we did talk to a lot of those candidates about what's going to need to happen with our state and mental health and how that ties into, juvenile school shooting stuff, mental health with homeless. We're in trouble with the feds over our
psychiatric hospital
mental health.
Yeah.
So, is that on your radar? What do you think might go down about mental health over the next session or so?
Well, I think it'll be a priority, which is great. It's been a priority, and we've set aside Hearst and we set aside McCleary. We've got lots of fixes left to do on both of those bills, but we want to make sure that this is an opportunity, like you said, to go back to the Capitol and for the first time, and without the McCleary cloud over us. To jump into a brand new issue. And I think holistically, Democrats, Republicans, we're really focused on mental health, because the nexus to all the things you just spoke about, whether it's the school shootings or whether it's in the homelessness, we're seeing keep coming back to that mental illness. So there's a large amount of money that's allocated for that next session, and we're going to try to piece that puzzle together and figure out what's in common and how we can help folks the most. But it's an epidemic. And then you tie in the addiction epidemic on top of that.
Yeah.
And we did a bill in space on opiates this last year, but that was just the very beginning of the work we need to do. So this is one of the few topics that I think you'll see consensus across the legislature, really reaching out, making sure that we work together to find solutions. So I'm excited about that work.
Lance and I were going to go back and demonstrate before and after, and then leave it up to you guys to figure out which one was which. But
that sounds like a project.
Maybe we won't burden the system with that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly going to be on a lot of people's minds. You're going to hear from a lot of folks in the mental health community, and there's all kinds of questions about how intrusive we can be to head things off at the pass, and what things we can't, etc. So best of good luck with that. How about it's one thing to be put on a committee by your governor, and it's another to watch him make certain decisions and push things like carbon tax, things like that. Where I think I know, but where are you at on carbon tax?
Yeah, I'm absolutely a no. I think that we were able to keep away the income tax, carbon tax, and capital gain tax this last session. We may not have the votes to do that again this year, so we're very worried about what that's going to look like. It's just, you can't keep going back to the people over and over and over and adding layers of tax. And I started the Washington State Business Caucus a few years ago, and we're not business friendly here. I mean, we're seeing people exit, and we're seeing people choose surrounding states with less cost and regulations on business. And I grew up, with small businesses and employing people in my community, and this is a big priority to me. And I think we're concerned about you have the head tax, and we have the minimum wage increase to a point that it's a living wage. And personally, we would pay our employees $50 an hour if we could afford to keep the doors open and still have a business.
Sure.
But we can't. It's simple economics, and it's discussions that we have to have, and it's going to be interesting.
KIT News Time is 8:25. We are speaking with 14th District State Representative Gina Mosbrucker. And Gina, it's not as big as that issue, but what do you think about this whole stamp for ballots and the governor saying he's going to lobby the legislature to make it permanent? I mean, what do you think about it, and will you support that?
Well, I'd have to see what it comes out to, because I think the most interesting part about the legislature is there's a topic, there's a title in a bill, and then there's the real bill. So I constantly found myself over and over sending, physically mailing legislation so people would read the rest of the story, right? Or emailing them legislation saying, read the whole bill, call me back, and if you still want a yes or no, I'd love to know. And it's the same thing. So once we see what that looks like, then I'd be happy to weigh in on that. Honestly, anything that gives voters that's reasonable and not too much of an unfunded mandate, which we're famous for, sadly, up in Olympia, that gives access to people to be able to vote, to get kids to the polls, to get people to the polls that are informed, right? There's always that other part of it. We'd like you to be informed about what you're voting for, whether it's an initiative or it's a candidate or it's a movement. But I think anything that makes it easier to engage people in the civics process is a win.
You see, Lance, pull up your sleeve. He's got these tattoos. I don't have a tattoo, but I'm tempted to get a tattoo of a postage stamp over my eye with a big X across it, just to be a walking billboard for what I think about that. My concern is that, we had a system that was deemed to be constitutional and fine, and then Seattle decided to step outside the norm. Why does their decision to step outside mandate a new norm? Either we were the norm or we weren't. So if they want to be outliers and pay for it, I do not see why that mandates then for the Secretary of State to determine that everybody else needs to do the same. Otherwise, what was wrong with the system that we had before? So, if next time you see me and it makes you look like you want to lick my eye and stick it to an envelope, that'll be the reason
not
why.
That will happen.
Probably not going to happen. All right, had to throw it out there.
We'll have to see what that looks like. I think that we do want people to go to the polls. I want people to go to the polls today. This is a non-presidential primary, and we'd love to have a great number of turnout. Whatever you vote, whoever you vote for, it's just important to be engaged.
And with that, we can give you the opportunity for the old elevator pitch. Tell us why we should do it again when it comes to Representative Mosbrucker. Why should we vote for you? Send you back to the snake nest that is Olympia.
Well, snake nest. No, I feel like I'm proven strong. I mean, I love this job. It's still my dream job. There's many days I think it isn't, but overall, it like you said, it's such an epic feeling to be able to make a difference and watch people's lives be better. So I do feel like I'm proven strong, and I feel like I've got momentum and I've got great endorsements. We've got the Farm Bureau and the nurses and the home builders and the dairies and the realtors. We've got really great support because of the hard work that we do. So I want to continue to do that hard work. So I'm very appreciative for having these last 2 terms, and I look forward to a great future.
Excellent. Gina, thank you very much. Best of good luck. You have a few challengers, so we will put it to you this way. In the event you get through the primary, this is what we say to everyone, we would love to have you back, maybe get into some more specifics on some programs and plans you might have. So we look forward to that possibility. Thank you for your service to this point. I think the people of Washington State and in other places around our country are better for your caring and your passion and your efforts. So thanks for the service, and best of good luck 1 week and 1 day from today.
Well, I appreciate that greatly, and I look forward to coming back.